It's that time of day where I hit you with my opinion and thoughts of the latest episode of Love Island US Season 2. Thank you guys for tuning into the nutshell for another real review / commentary on today's episode. Well, I know I'm a little bit behind, but I am back and we're not going to dwell on that. So this episode started off on a point where Carrington, to my surprise, actually did something romantic, and I was like, what? So he arranged for like a mini date with Laurel on the balcony where he had prepared a charcuterie board for her, and they just had sweet chats. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, I'm liking this new guy. Where has he been this entire time? So I'm not afraid to talk about how I feel about people, whether it's a negative thing, but I need to say that I am going to praise them for their good sides as well. So I'm really happy to see this with Connor. I think Laurel brings out something that's familiar to him, and I don't know what it is, but I like it. I like it. And I approve. I approve of Laurel and Carrington. Speaking of new connections, we are going to talk about old connections, and specifically Kirsten being cheesed about his gesture towards Laurel. And he's like, yeah, she was like, I think they're a good couple and him and I would never work, but I feel some type of way because there's so much affection going around and he never showed me affection. And you can see like she's cheesed, and I don't blame her for it, but I think Kirsten fit inside the box that Connor labeled her, and she was not that box. He put her in the plate box and she was a whole different kind of box. Like, let's say she was a knife box, and she was cool. She was just like, I'm just gonna roll with the punches. I'm going to let him like me the way he likes me, but not let him like me for who I really am. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. And I think that's the thing about chicks. Sometimes we like a guy for the fact that he likes us without really waking up and smelling the coffee and saying, wait a minute, does he really like me for who I really, really am? We don't want to rock the boat, so we don't try to change. We don't try to show who we really are, but we stay in the comfort zone of who a person thinks we are, just so that the relationship can continue. And yeah, that's my love lesson for the day. Always be who you are, no matter who you attract. Okay, you never know, because whoever you attract might not be the right person for you. And honestly, honey, it's always going to be on you. Never blame it entirely on the guy. You also played a role in the whole situation. So moving on, old connection, and old connections. Another old connection here is Mackenzie and Connor. So she pulls him aside and she's just like, oh, how is it going? How are things? Are you making connections with anybody new? And then Connor's just like, yeah, I'm just enjoying this opportunity to being single and getting to know people. I've been chatting with Moira, and we also know, like, on the sidelines with the boys, he's kinda expressed mildly that he's had an attraction to Kirsten and he would be open to pursuing that. But then right now it seems like he's leaning more towards Moira. And then when she first hears that, she doesn't feel like unfazed at all. She doesn't feel threatened by the fact that, oh, he might be interested in Moira. But then she breaks out the classic Mackenzie tears when she's talking about Jalen. I mean, after he talks about whatever experience or whatever, like she just jumps in and talks about how she thinks Jalen hasn't really turned out to be who she thought he was. They have kind of clashed, and she's just in a situation where she's upset by the things he said, and the things that he said is that he fears that the old Mackenzie might come back, aka like micromanager, and he's just not down for that kind of relationship, and he doesn't want to be in that situation. So his delivery was very straightforward, and I think she wanted it sugar coated just because it was a sensitive topic. It was still raw, the breakup, and it was a risk that she had taken in breaking up with Connor just to find something new. So it kind of blew back on her face, and I am sympathetic to that. I think, honestly, I don't think any of the people did anything wrong in how they reacted to that. I understand the stance that Jalen had, and I understand the raw, intense Mackenzie had. Now, do I think she handles things really well? No, I don't. But she's valid for having the feelings that she has. I think she shouldn't jump to conclusions, and that's self-sabotage. That's just Mackenzie. She sabotages a lot of her own situations. So then she's talking to him, and then she's just like, and talking about how, you know, she's I'm looking for the right words, but she's talking about how she's trying to figure out and reconcile what she did and where she's going to go from there. And Carrington is just like, I don't want them to have a conversation. I need to break these guys up, because it just looks like he's going to get sucked up into the whole circle again, and then it's going to be another roller coaster. So it was good looking out, in my opinion. I'm like, yes, come through for your boy, get him out of that situation. How many of us have been in that situation where we have been with an ex, we have been with somebody, and then you break things off, and then you keep on going back, it's just like back in circles. Do I think a relationship like that can work? Yes, but I think it needs time and space to heal first, and for people to grow. So Carrington is just like, nah. He goes up there and he's like trying to break things up, and he's like, sorry, is this like super important? Because I kind of want to grab Connor. And Mackenzie is like giving him the, oh my gosh, stink eye death stare. She's like, yeah, it's important. And then he was like, well, sorry, I didn't know. Well, he tried, and I think that's good looking out. I think that's a good friend. Connor, as usual, couldn't say anything. He stuck around until the end of the conversation, where he was finally free again. And listen, Connor, if you have been released from jail, why would you even want to go back near that area, near that town? No, man, no. So in the confessionals, Connor was just like, I was so uncomfortable having that conversation. It was awkward for me. I don't think like I was the right choice for her to pick to have that conversation. She should have picked her girlfriends or somebody else. And I totally agree with him. I think that was completely unfair of her. I think she's like, yes, he's a comfort zone for her, but then I just don't think that she did that selflessly. I think she wants to cry to someone who will just listen to her, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think like Mackenzie is very resistant to opinions that are different from hers when it's about her. I think she thinks all her feelings are valid, and they are, and no one is refuting that, but it's just how she handles the whole situation, and that's all about emotional maturity. I don't think she's quite there yet. And so yeah, it's hurtful. It's hurtful, honestly, on Connor's part to hear that. It's like, Skr, like, didn't you just dump me? Like, so why am I the person that you are telling all these problems, and the play is that, oh my gosh, I'm having such a terrible time, please take me back, without really saying please take me back, you know. So she's just like dropping those seeds and hoping that, oh yeah, they can get back together. I see you, Mackenzie. Everybody up in that villa sees you. So after that, Justine and Connor are having a conversation, and then she asks him how it all went, and then he tells her everything basically, and then she's just like, I'm just so upset, not really upset but frustrated, because I don't think she should be the person I don't think you should be the person that she's talking to after this, because it's just not right. Like, she dumped you basically. And he's like, yeah, I see, I'm not naive, I know what she's trying to get at, and like, I'm just not interested in going down that road. And then she's like, okay, I'm glad to hear that. But then she asks him if he still has feelings for her, and he says yes, he still has feelings for her, but he's really trying not to go back. At that point, Moira comes in and they have a conversation, and Moira is like, is she still trying to manage you when you guys aren't together? And it was just like choice of words. I'm telling you, Moira, I could see this. Moira is just like, Mackenzie, you tripping. Moira is just not, she sees all Mackenzie's plays, and she's just like not there for it, but in a very subtle, very low-key way. And I was like, I love it because she calls it out as it is, but the only thing I wish she could do is that call it out in front of Mackenzie, but she's not gonna do that. Whatevs. I wish she would. I really, really wish she would, because if everyone is telling you the same thing and you're like really wise, you will be like, all right, maybe they might be right. But no, Mackenzie is not like that. Mackenzie just feels like, oh my gosh, this is like I'm getting ganged up on. Whew. Speaking of getting ganged up on, they had another side chat, and then she was crying and she's like, oh my gosh, everyone is coming at me and I just feel like I'm misunderstood, and that people are bringing up things that are not true about me, and I just don't feel like I belong here. And she sobs and sobs and sobs. And Connor's just like, listen, you're not alone. I'm here for, like, not really I'm here for you, but like, I'm not alone. And then basically keeps quiet as she spirals. And end scene. The next morning, the next morning, everyone is, gets ready and all that jazz. And people are having like separate chats. Obviously, Jalen approaches Kirsten, and he expresses interest in her. He does the same thing with Cher and expresses interest in her. Calvin and Kirsten have been like flirting with each other, and in the very beginning when he walked into the villa, Kirsten was his first pick, but then she was so caught up in Carrington that she just didn't give the boy any time of day. And I know Calvin wasn't interested in rocking that boat, so he gravitated towards Moira, who just seemed more of an easy pick, right? So anywho, now that he has a second chance, you can see that he's really trying to go down that road. I hope I'm not missing anything so far. And then they get a text saying that there's gonna be a recoupling and it's gonna be the boys' pick. So everyone is kind of like grafting, and they're giving chats and trying to kind of find out where everyone stands and the direction that they're going to go. And again, Connor and Moira have a conversation about, like, where they're gonna stand. I mean, and what direction. They're basically just trying to feel each other out. And Connor's just like, when the boys asked me who I'd like to go out on a date with and kind of have the opportunity to get to see if there's something there, I picked you. And then she's like, oh my gosh, I really picked you. I think she's absolutely cute. Moira, I have issues. I know I've pointed out like stuff that I'm not down with. And I said she was my girl from day one, but she let me down several times. But I keep on seeing how cute she is, and I can't help but still like her. And I approve of her and Connor, though I think it would be a safe route to go for both of them. But I'm not mad about it. I don't see anyone else who would be a better match for them. So the recoupling. Oh, yeah. Before the recoupling, you see like Mackenzie also scrambling and talking to Aaron and saying, hey, I know I didn't, I've been through this whole Connor and Jalen issue, whatever situation, and it's just going downhill, but I didn't get the chance to tell you that. Basically, I enjoyed every time we've had like a chat, and I think it would be great if you and I would get to know each other a little bit more. I think if we explored, there would be something there. In the confessionals, Erin is like, I don't know if she's like for real. I think she's a cool chick and she's down to earth and she hangs out with the boys, but then there's another side of her that's an overreactor. So everyone agrees that she overreacts and has called her out on it, but not everyone has said it to her face, though she knows it. She's just in denial, basically. So I think when you're dealing with Mackenzie, it's like you just know that you're going to be with an overreactor and a dramatic person and somebody who's going to be in denial about it. So right before the recoupling, again, Mackenzie grabs Connor and they're talking about where they are. And then Connor is so sweet and he's just like, being single has made me realize that the time that we had together was really special. And I'm really happy that you were there with me for that experience. And then Mackenzie's like, I feel like you're just friend zoning me right now. And then she started crying, and then she went to the confessionals and she talks about how it still hurt even though she made the decision that she had made, and even though she felt like at the time it was a right decision. But I think she was just hurt and disappointed by Jalen, and she just feels like he's not genuine, and she has made that very clear to Jalen. Oh my gosh, I skipped a part. So that day earlier on, Jalen and Mackenzie had a chat about, them falling out, and Jalen kind of wanted to give them an opportunity to chat and know where they stood. And I think this would have been a moment where Mackenzie could have redeemed herself. And given that they'd had some space and time to think about everything that happened, I think the outcome could have been much different. Not meaning that they would have still been together, but I think their opinions of each other wouldn't have been darkened. So Mackenzie, as usual, jumped in and said, like, everything, I don't think it's fair for you to bring up the past and like throw it back in my face. I think like if that's how you had felt initially, you should have said it just off the gate. But I think like you kind of used me, and that we were disingenuous, and you should have just been straightforward from the very onset. And I don't really think that you are who you say you are. I think you're a different kind of person. So he was just like, okay, cool, that's how you feel, that's how you feel. And then she's like, yeah, I think that's all I have to say. And then they bounced and they walked away. Yeah, tough. And I also forgot to mention that when Carrington was trying to break them apart, like he had like a sidebar with Mackenzie and was like, you know, I love you, I always have your back, but I pride myself in being a person who's honest and will tell you something the way you need to hear it. You and Carrington, it's just never gonna work. It's a no-go, and you should just move forward and let that go. And then Mackenzie was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? I already did whatever I did, and like I broke us up, but now what now? And what then? And he's just like, I don't know, you're gonna have to figure it out. And that's the truth. We don't know, but you're gonna have to figure it out. You like, if you lay in your bed, like, you know, you gotta make it. No one else can fix your problems for you. And yeah, so the recoupling came. Basically, there were 3 people that I was so glad to see recouple, and that was Carrington and Laura. Like I said, not mad. Sally and Johnny, I loved how in his speech he was like, I can't wait to meet your mother and your brother and sisters, and can't wait for you to meet my sisters, my mom and my dad, and I can see a life outside the villa, and I am just so glad that we are together, and yeah, I want you. Basically, he just moved the relationship to the next level. Caleb and Justy, you know, that is my team. Here for it all day, every day. I think, like, I loved his speech, how he's talking about he was flirting with the idea of getting old, growing old together, and how it made him smile. And he thinks that even if it's a long ways away, the very first step to getting there is, you know, seeing how things are going to be outside the villa and picking Justine. So he picked her, and I was really glad. And I'm like, I'm not even interested in seeing who makes it to the end or who wins. You can see that there's love there. So for me right now, I'm just focused on who's gonna make it to the end, and is it gonna be for real? Because either way, Sally and Johnny and Caleb and Justine are just winners. If you found your true love, you're winning all day, every day. So the rest of the people who coupled up were Calvin switched up and ended up picking Kirsten, and she was all smiles. She was happy with the selection. Connor ended up picking Moira. Mackenzie ended up being picked by Erin, but I mean, she was the final one standing there. So I mean, what option did he have? I was interested to see who he'd have picked were he not last. When Kirsten was picked, you could see that Jalen was just like, oh my gosh, there goes my pick. So he settled for, and in my opinion, it is settling for, because I haven't seen a connection. I haven't seen them have chats. He settled for sure. Then I had a thought in my head, and it literally just escaped. So I don't think Cher and Jalen are compatible. I don't think they're a good match. I wasn't happy with that. I wish it was crisscross. I wish he matched with Kirsten, and I wished Calvin picked Cher, because I think one thing that's essential in a relationship is having a partner who challenges you, who makes you feel nervous, who teaches you new things. And I think, like, from the little interaction we saw at Casa Amor, Calvin and Cher had it. I think he's honestly making a safe decision by picking Kirsten. He's just falling back on something that is his norm. I think outside the villa, that's somebody who he would pick, right? And that is exactly what he said. He was gonna pick somebody who he could see pursuing outside the villa. I think honestly he felt like Cher was out of his league, and I don't know if that's how he felt, but she's not as safe as she's not a safe bet as Kirsten is. So even if it works out in the villa, the question is how long. But then, like, you see, the thing is, like, if you pick something new and it's different, you never know how the outcome will be. And I think everyone here kind of wants a sure thing and is not really into taking high risks, into making taking risks, especially great ones. So I honestly, at the end of that episode, I was just like, I was a bit upset because I was like, Connor and Mackenzie should have gone home. Carrington and Kirsten should have gone home. Who would I pick over the other? Connor and Mackenzie. I really wish that Laurel and Trey had an opportunity, had a chance at love. I think they'd have had much greater success. I think they'd have been much more sincere, and they'd have shown much more growth. Because at this point, it feels like we're singing the same old song and we're going round and round in circles with the Mackenzie and Connor storyline. And yeah, that's real life, but like the point was, we were supposed to give people experiences outside of real life. Anyways, that's it for me for today. I really hoped you guys enjoyed this. I'm sorry it's coming in late, and keep on keeping on. And until the next one, peace and stay safe as usual, and see you on the next one.